Hi everyone, I am quite excited to flip through my completed bullet journal of 2022. This is actually the first year I completed an entire bullet journal, so I'm quite excited to share it with you.
Hi everyone, Future Che here. Just want to say that I decided to split the flip through into 3 parts. Yes, 3 parts because it has become very long. So you will see the first part here, and then there will be part 2 and part 3. So enjoy.
First of all, this is the bullet journal that I'm using. I really love the purplish color of the cover, and this is from Notebook Therapy. It's called Tsuki Enchanted Journal Limited Edition, and because I love purple, it's one of my favorite colors, I'm very happy to have found this one. So this is the journal that I'm using for the entire 2022 for all 12 months. So let's start flipping. The first page is just my name. Write it down there, and this is my cover for 2022. And the setup for this is quite similar to basically the same with the setup that I have for 2023 as well. So I have here the Polaroid cover for the theme of 2022, and then over here I have a pocket where I put several items that I use throughout the year to help me write out my journal. So as you might notice is that I glued the first page together with the page that has my name on it. It's because it doesn't open completely, so I find it that it's quite awkward to do something there, so I glue them together and use this first spread, so to say, to be my first part of the bullet journal. So every year I choose a theme. Well, this is my first year, but that's the intention, that every year I'm going to choose a theme, and then that theme will be in the entire yearly part of my bullet journal. So the theme for this year is dandelion. So this is a stamp set from Lawn Fawn, and the focus is dandelion. So the reason why I chose dandelion is because for 2022 my word of the year, so to say, is wish. So I wish for the year to bring a lot of learnings and growth. So wish is the word that I chose. So dandelion, I feel, kind of represented that. So that's what you see here in the cover, in the envelope, and also the entire yearly setup will have the exact same theme. I love these Polaroid cover with the year here spelled out in this is a die set of Oliver's 1, 2, 3, and I love how there's little things that poke up from behind the Polaroid itself or a little bit to the side. I like it when items are interacting with the frame rather than being only inside of the frame or separated from the frame. So I am quite happy with the way how this cover turned out. And the next one is this page with the pocket. So this is a pocket. You would have seen how this pocket is made in my yearly setup for 2023, and this idea came from Joshi Karin. She, in one of her videos, she showed how you can use one of the page to hold pockets, and I thought that's fantastic, so I replicated the idea here. And the pocket held several items that I used to help me make my spread the entire year. There's this one, which is some sort of a bookmark, but there's a secret behind it that I use throughout the year, which I can't show you because it's quite private, but I do use this throughout the year. And I have a grid spacing guide for the width of the journal, and then at the back I have for the length of the journal. So this is definitely something that I use throughout the year as well in making my spread. And then I have a calendar, and this is very useful for me because it's a good reference that I have when I make my weekly in the year. So I have January to June on this side, and then July and December on the other side. And last but not least, this is my color palette of the entire year. So I record every single
month what color that I use. So I use Tombow this entire year, Tombow dual markers. I also included the yearly here, and this is very useful for me to remember what combinations of markers that I use for every spread. And also the other thing that is useful for me is to make sure that I don't actually repeat much of the colors, because I love having different spreads with different color combo. That's just what I like. I kind of like having very colorful bullet journal. So with this, this is the next 6 months. I kind of see whether I'm using quite a lot of different colors or there are colors that I'm repeating, but definitely not so much of the combinations of the colors themselves to be the same, even though you can see here July and August are quite similar. But I tried as much as I can to diversify the different color combinations for each month. Yep, so that's the first spread of this year. Well, let me try to put them back in very quickly. And as you can see in each of these, I also incorporated the dandelion theme so that they kind of match the entire year. So yeah, all dandelions that you see here, and will also be on the next page. So this is my future log, and you would have recognized this setup. This is from Amanda Rajlee future log, and I absolutely love it. I use the same setup also for 2023 and probably for 2024 as well. We'll see. So it's a little Dutch door, so kind of like a little book in the middle of a spread, and with a little tab on the side. I really love it, and this has worked really well for me to note down the important dates that might happen in the future that I don't have a space yet in my spread. So again, all the dandelions, the flying mouse, I love this one. She's very happily, or he's or they very happily flying. Yeah, so that's the future log. And then I have monthly summary. So for this monthly summary, I just have several bullet points on what happened that month. I like it to just have a quick glance in terms of remembering, what happened in that particular month. And I put these little dandelions over here just to tie up all the theme. So this is the beginning part of the year, is the last part where I have a dandelion. I have another one at the end. I'll show you later towards the end of the bullet journal. But there's one more before we go to the month. And this is probably my most favorite spread in the entire bullet journal. So this spread is basically a way of me to capture the different theme of the month. And I absolutely adore the way they look all together set up like this. And what I did was just pretty much have the name of the month, and then next to it a little bit of the color combo, and then just the theme underneath it. And yeah, I absolutely love this particular spread. I think they look absolutely adorable, being all 12 of them together at the same place. Now we'll go to the first month of the year, January. And I have to say that this is probably one of my most, well, it's not probably, I know it, that this is one of my most favorite themes for this year. This one and July, so you'll see later July theme as well. And so the theme for this month is a snow village, a winter village, should I say, with a lot of snowmen. Look at these adorable snowmen. This one is a giant version of the snowman, and this one is a tinier version of the snowman that you would see a lot more throughout this monthly theme. This particular spread, the cover and the monthly reflection, this is almost a coincidental design that worked. I have used these 2 pages before for something else, and I use pencils with them, but when I erase them, they don't necessarily came off that well, so it looks very patchy. So I decided that I'm going to use another paper to cover it to make it look a bit tidier, and the combination of these color paper and the color combo that I used for January turned out to be so well. So I'm really happy. This is probably one of my favorite spreads also throughout the year. I'm really happy how this color combo turned out. And separately from the color of the paper, the color combo of January is definitely one of my favorites as well. These gray plus a bit of maroon, red and orange and tan work really, really well. I absolutely love it. Yes, so that's the cover. Oh, and one other thing that I want to say is that you will notice that throughout the year I have the exact same way of setting up my monthly. So it will always start with a cover with a calendar, and then I will have the monthly reflection. So I always came back by the end of the month to write down my reflection of the month. So that's always how every month starts. And next, after that, I will have a calendar. So it will be the same throughout the year. And this calendar, I love the setup of this. And I was so happy that this actually turned out, that it worked well when I set it up. So what you see here is basically, it's a winter village. Each of the house is a different date of that month. And I just put little things, the tree and the snowman in between to kind of tie up the theme and the scene together, and I think they work really well. I love the different colored roofs over here. Oh, and sometimes, because some month might have more than 5 rows, 6 rows sometimes. Sometimes it just doesn't fit that well with the design, so I would put it up at the beginning. So you can see here 31st of January is actually at the very top. It still worked for me. I know how I'm reading it, so, and it works better with the design, so that's what I did. If you notice that, 31 is all the way at the very front there. Yeah, so this is one of my favorite calendars of the year. And next we have the weekly. So like I said, I set up my bullet journal the same way every month. So we'll always have a cover page where there's the calendar and then the reflection part, and then I would have the calendar spread, and then I would have each of the weekly spread. So this is the first weekly of January and the first weekly of the year. And if you notice that there are 9 dates in this spread, so my spread is not just always 7 all the time. I know some people really like that, but I like to kind of diversify them. I like that each of the dates belong to that particular month. So it's not that there is a date that is from a different month, for example, in a month. So for this one, they're all from 1 to 9. They're all in January. So that's usually what I do. If there's like a hanging date like this, I would put it together with the closest of the week. So it will become 8 dates rather than 7 or 9 or 10, 11, 12. Usually that's the number of the dates within the week. So this one is a 9 dates spread, and the design of this is quite clean and just quite simple, and I am inspired by Imprints XYZ. I will link all of the creators, artists that I'm inspired by in terms of the spread of the journal that I use, and I'm very often inspired by a lot of different people, because I think there's so many amazing things out there, and it really helped me to think about what are the different other creative things that I do. So I'm very, very, very grateful for all the different artists and creators out there. Yeah, so this one is just quite simple with the lines and with tiny little snowmen everywhere from Lawn Fawn stamp. I use Lawn Fawn for every single spread this year, so that's what you will see for every single month. Basically, I'm using different Lawn Fawn stamps, which I will link in the description box, each of the different stamps that I used. Yeah, so teeny tiny snowmen for this spread. The second week is quite simple. It's the reason why I do it this way is because this stamp has this row of different things. This one, a row of snowman, which I cut up to make the spread, the previous week's spread. And then we have row of trees, pine trees, Christmas trees, and row of winter village. So they're all, I feel like, nicely set up at the bottom. So I make a setup that just put them to highlight them there, and then to write down my summary of the day there. So that's the second week. The third week is again basically just have different part of the little stamps that I have before, and just flank each of these date spot. Oh, the other thing that I want to mention is that the way that I use my bullet journal is that I use my weekly to sum up my day. So each of these are basically a little summary of what I experienced that day. So my bullet journal I use it for memory keeping basically, and for creative outlet, of course, and especially also for the aesthetic purpose of it. So that's why you will see that for each of these dates, sometimes the space is not that much. It still works for me because it's just a little summary of my day, so I don't necessarily need to have too much space. I understand that some people use different spot for their task or their to-do list or their appointment, for example, and it might need longer or bigger spaces. But for me, because it's a summary of a day, even smaller one, it works for me because I can still have a little summary of the day. So this is the third weekly, and then the fourth one looks like this, and this is my other most favorite spread of the year, particularly because of these little scenes. I always find these little scenes to be really adorable, and I love them. And it's not, I don't do it often, and maybe this is the only one. Yeah, this is the only one that I have for the bullet journal for this year. The reason is because first, the stamps are not usually this tiny to make little scenes, but also because sometimes the background is not necessarily always part of my design. So to have a tiny stamps that can make scenes and a background that works with it makes, I'm absolutely happy that it works for this particular spread. So yeah, this is one of my most favorite. And one last thing that I want to mention about the setup of my bullet journal is that you notice that each of the weekly is different. So I don't like to repeat the design for each of the week. I like to think for each of the weekly to be an opportunity for me to be more creative and to highlight the different stamps, the different colors that I use in a different way. So that's why you see each weekly to be different than the other. Yeah, so that's January, and we will go to February. February is love and Valentine's theme. Because I'm using lawn fawn stamps for the entire bullet journal, basically, lawn fawn always came up with a Valentine release. So every year they would have special Valentine release, and for that particular stamp set, it's always about creatures who are really loving each other. And I find them really adorable, so I find it really appropriate to use it for February spread. So for 2022, their Valentine release is these skunks that are giving gifts to each other. So here they are. I found them very adorable. When I saw the stamp set, I was like, I could not wait to use them. And I like the color combo of just different shade of grays with pink. I think gray and pink really work really well together. So yeah, so that's the theme for this month. Oh, and I also, for the reflection, I like this little heart shape frame, so to say, and I thought, oh, that's quite clever to make it that way, if I can say so myself. So yep, that's the cover and the reflection part for February. This one, I also love the setup for this calendar, and I have to have a shout out to Joshi Corinne again, because this is one of the calendar that she had in her own spread. I don't know which month, but I'll link her account anyway, her YouTube anyway, in the description box, so you can see all of her ideas. She's a really amazing bullet journalist. She has a lot of different ideas for a lot of different spreads. She uses her bullet journal for many different purposes, not like me, just only to keeping memory. So you will have a lot of ideas from her. So this is one of the things that I'm happy to reproduce here, because look at the different design for all of these boxes. I find it to be, they're like different
notes, basically, kind of like memos or a letter set. So I thought that worked really well with the theme of this February, that is a love letter, so to say. Like there's giving love letter, one skunk giving love letter to another skunk giving a little muffin gift. So each of these date slot are like little memos of love letters. Yeah, so that's the calendar. And the next one is the first weekly. This design of overlapping boxes, I got it from Awa Studies, and I really like how it looks, and I thought it also quite work with the idea of a Valentine love letter. So that's what I replicate here. And the next one is just have the skunk in the middle, and then a little space for the dates and the days around. So like I said, you can see here that this is maybe quite small, but because it's just a summary of my day, it still works for me. And this more smaller set of slot for the days, I got this inspiration from Martha's journal, and she usually has these more smaller set of the days. Basically, the design for the days are smaller, and I actually like that because I also love having significant negative space in the spread of my journal. I feel with incorporating negative space to the spread makes the spread looks tidier and not cluttered, and it really brings attention to the part that you want to bring attention to. So I appreciate more negative space in a bullet journal setup. The next one is this is the third week, and this basically what the focus is on this weekly is this slot that looks like a block note, I think. So basically a letter, a paper that looks like a letter, and this design comes from Imprint XYZ again. I really love the way that she has this design. So as you can see, what I got inspiration from different creators, from different bullet journalists, is not always the exact spread, but sometimes it's the design of the slot or the letterings, for example, and then I incorporate that into my own design. So yeah, and it's, I like that because it's kind of helped me thinking more creatively for different spread that I have. And this is the last one, and I'm quite proud with this particular spread, and you will see it similarly in different months. So what I did is that I use dies from Lawn Fawn as well to cut out these hearts and use each of them as a different slot to write down the days. This is the first one of the bullet journal. There will be others where the day slot is basically a cutout from different paper. That's for February. Oh, if you notice, look, I actually missed the U there. It's February. You will see these little mistakes throughout the journals, and I'm getting used to them. I'm quite okay with them. I don't need my journals to be absolutely perfect. I actually sometimes find it charming because it reminds you that the journal are made by a person, a human being, and with two hands that makes mistakes all the time. So I think it still works. I know February means February, so even though it loses a U, it's absolutely fine.
So this is the end of part 1. Thank you so much for joining me up to this point. If you're interested in part 2 and part 3, I will link the videos here when they're out, and I will also put it in the description box below. I will also link another video, which is a flip through without me talking, so it's a lot faster if you're interested in that. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful the rest of the year. And until next time, bye.